Good morning, everyone. Welcome to your Inspired Books Group coaching call. Today is October 29th, 2024, almost the end of October. And in 2 days, somebody in this room has a birthday, and she's right in the middle, Sam. So happy birthday early.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, Halloween baby.
Yeah.
I was about 15 or 16 when I realized that everybody wasn't excited for my birthday. It was something else. Because we never celebrated Halloween. It was just my birthday.
Oh,
So
that's funny. Yeah. So Susan, you had a breakthrough on your book. You want to share?
Okay. Um, I've been struggling with telling the story, and I realized that it would be more interesting and more insightful if I told it from the viewpoint of my mother.
Oh.
Um, and it changed everything in how I was writing.
Mm-hmm.
I went, oh, well, then I would tell it this way. Oh, and then I would do this. I think it would have more strength for people reading it also.
Wow.
Uh, so uh, that really made a difference for me. So I'm not going to go back and rewrite pieces that I've done already, but I'm going to start a couple of chapters that are a different viewpoint, and then I'll go back and adjust.
Yeah.
I think it just will make it a more interesting story.
Cool. Well, that's awesome. That's a big
So
breakthrough.
it was a big breakthrough for me because telling it from my viewpoint, I kept pulling my kids into it. And I don't want to tell a story about my kids.
Oh.
And I kept going, well, my mother never met my kids till they were nearly adults.
Mm.
So it's a completely different story told that way.
Yeah.
And so yeah,
Wow. Cool.
big
Yeah,
change.
and yeah, when once you finish writing your rough draft, then you can go back and read through the whole thing and do your cleanup then. And you need to change the perspective on the chapters you've already written. You can do that. You don't have to, like I said, don't have to worry about it right now. You got the momentum, go with it.
No, it really changed, and I could feel the energy because I felt like I had better direction.
Yeah, yeah. That's like Beth. I mean, you were struggling with your first book, and then when God said, no, write this, then things just kind of flowed for you, right? Yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, when we get that breakthrough, it's amazing how things just go. Anybody else have anything they want to share? An update or have a question or anything?
I'll share about my retreat that I
Yeah.
went on. And I was there Thursday through Sunday, and it was really good. My friend that went with me, she was very much welcomed. And she, at the end of the retreat, she asked, I'd never heard her do this before, but apparently something she started. And she asked, what was your rose and what was your thorn of the
Oh,
weekend, or what was good and what was bad? And when she shared her good thing, it was the very first, she actually accidentally beat me there. My plan was to be there before she was.
oh,
And because I just like she'd never been there, and I mean it's just a thing. But she's very competent to hold her own. But she said that her rose was the first person she saw when she got there was this guy named Lance, and Lance was the right person for her to see. He's
oh,
amazing and just very welcoming and kind and loving, and just like when I think of Lance, I just smile. And
yes.
so, but she was saying how great it was just to be able to talk to him and know right away she was going to be welcomed. And it was good. So, the retreat was really good. It was what I needed. And I'm just highly aware that if I don't do those kinds of things, then I am going to burn.
Mm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
and because I'm trying to do so much, and I teach people to keep their cup full, right? If I
Mm-hmm.
don't keep my own cup full, and I'm not going to be good for anybody. So it was
Yeah.
very good. It was a very good retreat.
Yeah.
Did not get to spend hardly any time thinking about my book, which I was okay with that
Yeah.
because I wanted to be present with the people that were there and I was pretty successful with
Yeah.
that.
Good. Yeah. No, that, I mean, you got to practice what you preach, right? And you went there for just like you time. You don't need to think about your book or anything like that. I mean, if God would have dropped something on you while you're there, great. But otherwise, it's just, it's a different thing you're going through. It's just the decompressing or whatever, you know, that's what I went through in Orlando. All right. Anybody else? Annette? Hey.
Hi, I'm eating breakfast, so I'm off camera.
Okay.
I had a good, I had a presentation at my church with Dr. Bartlett, and um, I have a interview tonight on, it's more political though, with a group of other conservatives and promoting Brexit, which was a conservative movement that Candace Owens started.
Mm.
And I am working on a signature talk, which is, my talk when people say, "What do you do?" Or when I'm invited on, a program or whatever, to tell people very succinctly what I do in order to get clients. And I am still trying to upload my book, but I'm better. I'm closer. I'm figuring it out. I think this week maybe I will get it done for real. It's just a lot to do right now. It's just a lot to do, and it gets pushed back. But I'm glad it's there because I can use it for my talks. I can use it for what is it called, a lead magnet if I want to. I don't think I will. I work too hard on this book. I think I do something else related to the book, but I'm working on a lead magnet, which is something for parents that's really cool. I'm learning to use chat. Right now, Chat GPT has created characters for me. I just decided, I wonder, when I was writing the book, I got stock images of the way I think I would like my characters to look, but I couldn't use them because they were actual people.
Oh.
So I was just thinking that the other day, I put in a description of Adam. I say, at first I say, chat, can you draw a character for me? Because I just wanted to be sure before I waste up my little free time, where you have a certain period of time when you can do really creative stuff, like create logos and pictures and stuff like that. And it said, yes, write a description and I'll make one for you, So I did. I described him from, my head and my book, and drew up and really, where first I said, I would like for you to draw a picture of my character Adam from my book. So it drew Adam like he was in the garden, except he was a teenager. I go like, oh, not that Adam. I said, this was a teenage Adam, a Black boy with, certain type, mixed culture, mixed half white, half Black, teenager, from the hood. So it did that. It made me a character. And so that was really cool. Now I have to find an illustrator to be able to recreate that character. But it's my character. And one FYI is it'll only do it once. Like if I say, now create the same character, I was trying to and put him in a sketch because I wanted an illustrator to be able to sketch it. It couldn't recreate that character. So finally I said, can you duplicate a picture? And it said no. Oh. So everything that you do when it comes to that type of stuff is original. Nobody else will get it. That was pretty interesting.
Yeah. Oh, that's good too. That's good to know. Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. Anybody else? All right. Well, I have an update, and then we're going to dive into continuing with the FTC that I was teaching on last week. So a couple months ago, I mentioned to you that my husband was supposed to go to Europe sometime for work, and he's waiting and waiting and waiting. And this week, or last week, end of last week, they contacted him, said we have these dates available, and it's next week. And so, so he gets home from Saudi Arabia tomorrow, and then on Friday we leave for Amsterdam. And so we will be gone for 2 weeks. He works only 3 days, and the rest of that time, then we get to turn it into a vacation. So we'll be in Germany and Austria and Belgium and Luxembourg, and so we're gonna take just some fun time together where he's not actually working and do that. So the timing's a bit off because of just getting back from Orlando, and here I'm going to be gone again, but that's the nature of his business. And it was already planned that I was going to go with this on this trip. So, but you get to be blessed with Rod again for the next 2 weeks. So he always does a fabulous job, and I thank you, Rod, for all that you do to help me and help the group. So you're a wealth of knowledge, and I appreciate it. So yes, so I will be gone for the next 2 weeks. All right. So last week I started talking to you about being FTC compliant. I don't know. I don't remember how I came across this guy. I saw a webinar and it kind of freaked me out. So I bought his book. Don't say that. And then when you buy the book, you get a free masterclass, which is like a 2-hour video. Have any of you purchased it? Beth, you did? Okay. It is so eye-opening. And so I have been wanting to just touch on some of the points. And really what I'm giving you is just an overview. And I posted in our Facebook group a masterclass or a challenge that he's doing this week. And it was last night, tonight, and tomorrow. And it's in the evening, like 7 o'clock Central Time, I think. And you probably could still sign up if you wanted to. It's free. And I even got more out of it last night. And I'm just like this stuff is scary. We don't need to walk around fearful and, all that, but it should put enough fear in you to want to be compliant. Put it that way. It's worth it. It's not worth taking shortcuts. It's better to know what to do. So I mentioned last week that there's 5 areas that they focus on the most. There's more than 5, but these are probably the top 5 that they really focus on. And they again were misrepresentation, net impression, claims, substantiation, and testimonials. We started going through misrepresentation. And I'd said that there's 9 types of misrepresentations, and I wrote that down wrong. It's actually 8. And so we went through 3 of them: AI bots and fake profiles. The second one was fake sales and discounts. And the third, implying connection to someone famous. So we'll continue with those 8, and then we'll go on to the other 4 areas. So number 4 under misrepresentations is success story creation. I don't know if you've ever been on a webinar or you've seen an ad or anything where people say, I'm looking for, 5 people, or I'm looking for 10 people to be the next success story, or, we want to help you to, be the next success story, and then they want to use your testimony and all of that. That's a big no-no. You can't do that because you can't guarantee it. So if 10 people sign up thinking they're going to be the next success story and they're not, they're going to be, discouraged or whatever, and they could even reported as false advertising or something. So there's no way of tracking their success. There's no way of, just really substantiating it like you're supposed to substantiate everything you need to the FTC. So don't do it. Don't use words like that. Looking for the next success story, or I'm looking for 10 people to be my next success story. If you're looking for 10 people, I'm looking for 10 people to sign up. Okay, leave it at that. Don't say to be the next success story, because you can't guarantee that they're going to be successful. Number 5 is fake live webinars. I don't know if I mentioned this at all last week, but when you do a webinar and then you put it on Evergreen, there's nothing wrong with that unless you are giving the impression that it's live. So you see, you'll see these.
Russell Brunson is
Yep.
doing that.
Doug does it. Everybody does it. Everybody does it, and they'll call out, oh, we got, 50 people on, we got 100 people on, and they'll call out people's names and all this. And they never in anywhere in the webinar say that this is recorded. The one that I was on last night was live. It was recorded, and he's going to make it evergreen. And he tells you that up front, and throughout the webinar, he'll say, for those of you who are watching this on the recording, this may not apply. Or, like if he's presenting his offer, for those of you watching the recording, this offer may not be available by the time you watch it, whatever. So throughout the record, you want to put a disclaimer in the front. You want to make people realize that they are watching a recording. So there's nothing wrong with recording it live and putting it on Evergreen, but you have to make sure that your audience knows that they're watching a recording. So that's a biggie. They don't like fake webinars. Environmental claims, saying this is green or this can help the environment, whatever. You better be able to back that up with some good substantiation, scientific evidence, whatever, to make that claim. Same with number 7, health related claims. You don't want to say this is going to cure. Supplements are probably the biggest offenders of that. A lot of them claim it's going to cure this or cure that. You really can't say that. And, especially if you're not FDA approved. If you're FDA approved, then there's some different things you can say. But if you're not FDA approved, things are even more stricter for you. So things like that. Just be very careful about the claims you're making, because if people think that they're going to get cured of something because they are taking your product, then and then they don't, they could sue. And then number 8 is made in America or made in the USA. Those kinds of claims. And this probably doesn't apply to any of us, but just mentioning it. If you're going to claim something's made in the USA, either all of the ingredients or most of them have to be from the US. Has to be assembled in the US. The ingredients have to be from the US. If the ingredients are from China and then it's assembled in the US, it's not made in the US. It's assembled in the US. But you can't say it's made in the US because it's not US ingredients. So that's all falls under misrepresentation. All right. Number 2, the second area, there's 5 areas again that the FTC looks at, or the most areas that they look at are these 5. Number 2 is net impression. Net impression, simply stated, is what is your customer or the person viewing your ad or your webinar going to walk away with? What do they think is going to happen? This is probably one of the biggest areas they look at, and probably one of the most offended areas as well. Like a net impression might be, I made X number of dollars in 3 weeks. So I look at that and I'm like, oh, I can make that kind of money in 3 weeks. Wow. you know? So you can make income claims for yourself, like just to like he'll say something, he goes, this is, you know, I'm telling you this so that you know that I'm credible, that I've done this, but it's, you know, this is not typical. I can't promise you that you will be able to do the same thing. You have to have a lot of disclaimers. You have to be very careful what you're saying. And, you know, whatever it is, you know, I'll lose 5 pounds in a week. Well, net impression anybody's going to get is that, hey, if I buy your supplement or if I buy your coaching program, I'm going to lose 5 pounds in a week, or I'm going to lose 20 pounds in a week, you know, whatever it is. Look at it from yourself. When you put something together, then sit back and put your customer eye, you know, glasses on and read it and say, okay, if I were reading this as a customer, how would I perceive this? What's my net impression? What am I taking away from this? I think I told you last week that the 4 words that really got him in trouble was when he was on sales calls with people, or his team was, and they asked, what are your goals? 4 words. What are your goals? And it's like, really? You can't say, what are your goals? Well, especially with his business, the net impression was that we can help you with those goals to reach those goals. Well, you can't necessarily promise that. So you want to word it differently. Like, what are you hoping to get? What, you know, whatever. You just kind of got to be very, he talked about this last night. Like, what are you hoping to achieve out of this? You know, do you want this, this, or this, you know, whatever. Just word it differently. Just don't ask anybody what their goals are. And I'm not the expert. I just got to add that too. I'm not an attorney. I'm not giving you legal advice. Nothing I say is legal advice. Do your homework, hire an attorney, whatever, and, you know, get the book, because I'm just giving you highlights. They go into much more detail. They give you case studies and all that in the book. But so yeah, net impression is really important. It's got to be truthful. It's got to be a typical outcome. Like if you're making any kind of claims, which I'll get into the next, it's got to be typical. And then you have to be able to substantiate what you're saying. So if you're making any kind of, well, here's a net impression. I'm standing in front of my yacht making a video saying, would you like to work from home? You can too. And the net impression is like, if I work from home, I can own a yacht, you know, or, you know, would you like to have this kind of lifestyle? You know, the net impression is like, oh, so if I buy your coaching product, or, oh, if I buy with this or that, I can have that kind of lifestyle. Big no, because there's no guarantee. You cannot substantiate it. Yeah, Beth.
I get ads on Facebook from an author all the time. I wrote my book in 90 days, made $15,000, and you can do it too. So I took his free little thing, and all he talked about was he wrote this book, and then it was pictures of him and his girlfriend traveling Europe and this, and doesn't really say how you can do it. Yeah, but you can do it too.
Yeah, that's total FTC non-compliance. And they go after anybody. They don't care if you're making $100 million or making $100. They will go after you especially if they get complaints. Then you are definitely on their radar. So yeah, so be truthful, all that. And the next one, number 3 of the 5, is claims. And claims and net impression really go together. Claims are, there's 4 types of claims. The first is express earnings, like make $10,000 in your first month. Quit your 9-to-5 job in a month. You know, those are express earning claims. Then there's implied earning claims, which are, these would be more like like if I showed you screenshots of all the sales I've made, and then that's enticing you to want to get the same results, and so you buy my product thinking you're going to get the same results. And obviously if your sales, if you're showing your bank account, if you're showing your sales dashboard and it's big numbers, I think the bigger the more net impression issue you have there. If you're going to show something like that, you have to again clarify that I'm only showing you this for credibility, so that you know that what I'm saying is true. I actually have done this. I actually have made, sales or whatever, but this is not to say that you can do the same. I can't promise you that, but you need to disclose. Okay. The third type of claim is lifestyle claim, which I just kind of went into, like, standing in front of a yacht or a fancy car, things like that, where you're kind of claiming, like the author, you can travel the world too, you can do this. You can't guarantee that. There's no way to substantiate that. And so just don't do it. And then the last one, number 4, the fourth type of claim is performance claims. So these have nothing to do with money. These are more about like I said, lose 20 pounds in a week, get a 6-pack abs in 30 days, things like that, whatever it might be. Find your soulmate in 7 days. These are more performance. You have, again, no way to guarantee that, to prove that. You can't substantiate those types of claims. And so it really connects with net impression, because you're leaving that net impression that they can do this. I can find my soulmate in 7 days. Oh, I've been looking for years. Yes, finally, I can find him in 7 days. And you can't guarantee that, So any of these types of claims, especially money claims, I think 99.9999999 of coaches out there who are business coaches, who are trying to teach you entrepreneurship and things like that, are non-compliant in one way or another. And 99.99999 of everybody, including myself, are non-compliant because we just don't know all the rules. And anytime you're making income claims, though, you are on the radar. So you got to be very, very careful how you word it, and have your disclaimers in place and all of that, because it's leaving a net impression that other people, that, hey, I can do that too. Great. And then when people don't achieve it, they file complaints, you get investigated, and then the nightmare happens. All right. Number 4 of the 5 is substantiation. So I've talked about it a bit. You have to be able to substantiate anything that you are saying. So, they're looking into your substantiation. What do you have to prove what you're saying? And I mentioned it last week, if you get a letter from them, like he always shows this FedEx envelope. He says, I keep it by my desk all the time just to remind me of where I came from. And he said, by the time you get that envelope, you've already been investigated. They already know a lot about you. And so they're looking at all your stuff, and they're looking at, okay, what kind of substantiation are they showing? Are they, giving people, whatever. And if you can't back up your claims, then you're in trouble. If you can, great. Like he mentioned in the book how he won an award years and years and years ago, and he would say, and he was number 2, but he never claimed he was number 2. He said, I was in the top 3, and they came after him for that. And so he went to try to prove it, and the company, like a publisher or some, magazine or whoever it was, shut down. They'd shut down years ago, and he couldn't find any proof anywhere because, their website was gone and all this stuff was gone. He finally found an archive.org or some company that had records, you know, of maybe articles or whatever. And he sent that to them and they were okay. He could substantiate that claim. But if he wouldn't have been able to find that, they would have fined him for that. Even though it was true, he wasn't able to substantiate it because he didn't have any of the proof. So like if you guys win an award, make sure you keep proof. If you want to use that in your marketing, keep proof of it. And if you need to just say, I can't believe I got this letter in the mail I won, you know, or whatever, show them right in your ad or whatever. Cover your butt, keep documentation of everything. One thing he said on that the attorney said on the call last night was, and I'll get into testimonies here in a bit, but anytime somebody gives you a testimonial, even if you're not using it, keep it, like file it away, because it establishes like a record for you. So if there's any question, you can pull out all these testimonials and say, I got 4,000 testimonials right here that say the same thing or whatever. But I'll get into testimonials in a bit. So substantiation is really important. The bigger and the bolder that you are, claim that you are making, the more substantiation you're going to have. And you can, and that can be things like research, having expert, I don't say witnesses, but some expert, you know, maybe an article, something like that, studies, repeated results, meaning you can substantiate that you get the same result. It's typical. One of the words they use, I'm not sure if it was typical. What's the word typical? It's similar to typical, if not typical. That, you know, this is what the norm, this is the norm of what the results that most people get. Any kind of documentation, independent reviews, anything that you can have to prove what you're saying. Keep it. All right. Or don't say it. And then also related to the substantiation, they talk about absolute statements and general statements. Absolute statements, you know, guaranteed to work, 100% guaranteed, or, you know, whatever. It'll cure anything. Or, and I mentioned last week, you'll never have to go back to a dentist again. What a dumb statement, right? So absolute statements like that, big no-nos. Don't use absolutes. And then the opposite of that are very vague general statements. And some of them that they said are like doctor recommended. Which doctors? How many doctors? You know, what's your substantiation to that? Exceeds industry standard. What standard? How are you measuring that? What proof do you have? What studies? What tests have you done? You know, things like that. So those are general statements. So the absolutes and the very vague general statements are red flags to the FTC. And you should have third-party verifications, studies, and all kinds of data or whatever to back things up. All right. Okay. And number 5 of the 5 most looked at areas is testimonials. This one was really surprising to me. And I don't necessarily agree with everything that the FTC says about this. They consider this in the book low-hanging fruit. Like this is easy picking for the FTC. And they're really looking at testimonials quite closely. So if I took your program and I made $10,000 in the first month, and then I made $10,000 the second month, you know, and I'm just doing really good, and I give you a testimony, I do a video or I write something, you know, Jane's program was so good, you know, I made $10,000 and then I made this, you know, and second month I made 30,000, you know, whatever it is. Testimonies, there's different, okay, so there's four different rules to look at with testimonies. One is, if you're going to use a testimony from somebody, you have to have written permission from them. So you get a form made up that releases them to give you or allow you to use their testimony in marketing, in whatever. And some of the, oh, let's see. Yeah, so I'll go there and then I'll kind of wrap this up. And then number 2 is documentation to support their claims. So if I'm claiming that I'm making all this money, I better be able to support it. But it also goes back, number 3 of the 4 rules is back to typicality. I might be doing that, but is everybody else doing that? And you don't want to ask for testimonies from your top 1% or your top 2%. Look at what they're doing. Everyone's doing this, da, 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 da. But the majority of the people aren't getting those same results. Then it's not typical and you can't use it. Clear and proximate disclosures. These are disclaimers and disclosures, but these alone will not protect you. Okay, so you can put a disclaimer, you know, on your website. You can have a disclosure, whatever, you know. We've all seen disclaimers, but that alone is not going to protect you. You have to have all these 4 in place when it comes to testimonies, and you know, you need to verify it. Any kind of claim, the best type of testimony that you can have, but you still need authorization for, is just more of a character testimony. I worked with Connie. She is the best music teacher ever. Like, I just love her. She made me feel so at ease. You know, something like that. And those go a long way. You know, you don't have to say, yeah, because I took Connie's course, you know, I got booked on such and such a show and da 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 da, you know. Is that true? Is that not true? I have no way of really knowing that. You might just be saying that. But a character testimony is okay. There's nothing really you need to substantiate with that. You still need their permission. So you still need to have them sign a permission sheet. So for me, I got to go back now to everybody, all of you, anybody that's written a testimony for me, and have a form filled out. And you can add, now he didn't say this in the book, I don't think, but you know, you might want to go so far as to say, you know, whatever it is that you're having them do, like that you have permission to use their picture, their name, you know, 'cause some people may not want their name used. They might write you a testimony, but they don't want their name used. You can use my initials, you know, something like that. So, you know, you can have this form that says, I have permission, and maybe you circle it, you know, like, I have permission to use your name, you know, name, initials, no name, whatever, you know, please circle the one that applies or something. You know, I don't know. Again, I'm not an attorney and I don't know exactly the best way to do that. But you are supposed to at least get written permission that you can use their testimony. But I think it's important that they understand what that means as well. You know, that they understand that, okay, I'm going to use it in my Facebook ads. I'm going to use it on YouTube. So I'm going to use your face, or I'm going to use your full name, or, you know, what can I use? Get that permission so that, you know, they don't come back and sue you. I don't remember if I told you the story of the lady who gave somebody a testimony. They used it in their marketing. They made millions of dollars. She sued them because she felt, in part because of her testimony, that's why they were so successful. So she should get a cut of that. And then complained to whoever, and then they got investigated by the FTC and got fined. Where I disagree with this on the FTC is, for me, if somebody writes me a testimony, that's implied consent. Why else would you write a testimony? What good is a testimony? I can't use it anywhere. Just what, to puff myself up that I get to sit and read all these great testimonies, make myself feel good? I mean, if you write me a testimony, to me, that's implied consent that I can share that. But apparently not. So it makes no sense to me why anybody would write a testimony and then expect that, oh, that your success is because of me. Well, yeah, because you wrote me a testimony. I mean, that's the whole purpose of testimonies. FTC doesn't look at it that way. Never claimed that our government makes sense. So that's just my personal opinion. I don't agree with that part of it, because to me it's implied consent, or it has zero value. A testimony has zero value if you can't use it. So those are the 5 most looked at areas. Something else I just wanted to add that the attorney talked about last night was FTC. There's a couple different rules. One is 13 something and one is, I think, 19 something. And they used to really put a lot of stuff under Rule 13. And, they would, try to fine and freeze assets and everything. Well, then somebody challenged that and they couldn't fine you, I think it was, or they couldn't freeze assets, one or the other, or both. And so Rule 19 allows you to collect money and to freeze assets or whatever. And he said, Anik said that his case initially started off under the Rule 13, and then they switched it to Rule 19 so that they could, get money out of them. But some of the things that they do is, if they freeze assets, they're wicked. They're mean. They freeze everything. Anything that your name is on. The attorney said he had one client that they made a payment to their attorney. The FTC seized it. And it's like, how am I supposed to have representation if I can't pay my attorney? And the attorney said, you better have your parents or somebody pay me, because I'm not representing you unless I get paid. You make a house payment, they could seize that. Like, they take everything away from you. He's got clients who they have no money to put food on their table because they have frozen everything. Another one, he was on, his mother has dementia, and so he's on her accounts. And so they froze her accounts because his name is on it, to take care of her account for her. They froze her stuff. There was something about a business that had nothing to do with the business they were investigating. And somehow, I can't remember what the story was, but they froze that business as well. Had nothing to do with any of what they were investigating. But because he was related to that business, they froze it. So they're vicious, they're mean, they will take everything from you. They serve a good purpose to protect consumers from, being defrauded and, fraud committed against them, things like that. But when it comes to, fining you or freezing your assets, they're wicked. They're wicked. So having everything in place, doing your best to be compliant is well worth it. All right, questions, comments?
Since last week, I've been seeing this everywhere.
Yeah.
There was a woman that, and I don't normally ask for stuff on social media, like comment the word, unless I trust them probably. I've been following them for a while. And this lady, the thing popped up and it was an ad and it said comment systems to get my exact systems I've been using. And it was something I thought I could use. And so then she sent me a message back asking some questions and I answered her questions. They were fine. And then she sent me this 20-minute video and I watched it and I was like, your thing said you would send me your exact systems. And it was everything she said in that video, I was thinking, oh my gosh, she can't do that.
I know you're ruined for life now, right? You're like,
And I'm like, well, crap, I've been doing like, oh no, I gotta go back and look at everything I'm doing. But so I messaged her. I said, well, your thing said you would send your exact systems. That's not what I watched in the 20-minute video. And I was waiting for her to say something else and say, oh, well, and I was going to say, I hope nobody reports you. But I
yeah.
wanted to see what she hasn't responded though.
Oh,
And so whatever. And so now I'm like, oh my gosh. Yeah, I see it everywhere.
yeah.
And it is important. And you're right. We don't want to live in fear.
No.
And we got to protect ourselves to make sure we're not one of the ones that gets in trouble.
Yeah. Yeah. And just forgot what I was going to say. Oh, well, it'll come back to me. Oh, I was going to say, you can follow him if you guys want to learn more. He just like 2-3 weeks ago started a TikTok account. If you go to his website, don'tsaythat.com, he's got a blog, and he's got a podcast. So, you can follow him there, just to stay in touch. I also, before I forget, I also want to mention they came up with an AI system that is built by attorneys or somehow or whatever. I think built by attorneys so that you can run you can put your URL in there to your website or you can put a video in there or whatever, and it will examine it and it'll give you a score and it'll tell you what areas you need to improve upon and what they are. Too many false claims or too many this, whatever. And it's really neat, but it's expensive. Right now they're still in beta and it's like $1,200 a year for a certain number of words. You get a certain number of words and it's going to go up. And so that's it's either $100 a month. It's $100 a month, or I thought the yearly was a little bit less than that anyways, but he said it's going to go up to $300 a month. So, I mean, it's only going to get more expensive. It would be a cool product to have. I just don't have $1,200 to do that. But you can, anything you have, you can run through it. You're writing emails, you can send it through it, put your emails through it, your ads, whatever, and it will analyze it and let you know if you're compliant or not, or how compliant you are. So it's pretty cool. But if you watch any of his webinars or anything, you'll learn about it because he does a demo and all of that. So, Susan.
Did they happen to mention if your assets are in a trust, are you protected?
Oh, yeah, no, they go after, somebody asked if it's an LLC, all that. And, I think they go after everything. Even if it's in a trust or, cause we put our businesses in LLCs so that if we're sued, our personal assets are safe. But, if I understood the attorney right last night, because somebody asked that specific question and he's like, yeah, and then he gave that story of how the guy was on his mom's account, and then this other business and everything, and they went after all of it. So I think the answer is, doesn't matter.
Okay. Just curious.
Yeah.
I have everything in a trust now.
Yeah. It might be safer. I don't know. There was something about, and he didn't really elaborate on it last night, but something about your home. Like if you have it's in your home, like they're not going to go after your home, but they can make you sell your home. But like having a home was safer than having cash or, you know, a 401k, or, I mean, they'll go after your retirement. And I mean, the fact that you're trying to pay your attorney for representation and they seize that money, or you're trying to pay your mortgage and they seize that money, they don't care if they have you living out on the street and eating dirt. When it comes to that part of it, they don't care. So yeah, not nice.
Kathy, I was just wondering about the, the legal system lately has just been awful. And I wonder if with the shift that's going on spiritually, will some of those things change?
Mm.
Because, people have been with the wrong intent. They have been vicious. They have been unjust in their administration of the laws. Like you said, about switching one charge from one rule to another rule so that they can get paid.
Yeah.
That's some of that stuff is, manipulation. And most legal experts know that the common person knows nothing about, the legal matters. But of course, the best way to avoid all of that is what you're doing now, is, making us aware of it so that we can be compliant. And the other thing I was thinking of while you were talking is a lot of the way we do business is a lot like spreading a rumor. You tell one person and then they tell another and then they tell another, and then the original looks a lot different than the way you heard it, and there are things that some of this is kind of a relief to me, because I'm looking at certain things, even for my business, and saying, well, God, I really don't feel comfortable doing that, because, some of it is common sense, like, you want to give a testimony of something that has actually worked, not something, not of a fresh idea that I'm just starting, that it has to be something proven. Otherwise, it's like you said, it's quite fraudulent, not giving guarantees. I mean, that makes a lot of sense, because we just know that even in our own personal life, I've guaranteed things to myself that I haven't done.
Yeah. The only guarantee I can make you is that I can't guarantee it.
That's the only thing I can do, is not guarantee it, I mean, all of us are trying to write books, and we are, we make ourselves promises every week.
Yeah. Well, and I
And
was thinking about it, how it applies like to us as authors, or to me as a coach. Like, and it was the subject that Beth brought up, and it's like so many coaches, like, you can write your book in 7 days, write your book in 21 days. And yeah, you can do it. I've done it. I've written a rough draft in a weekend.
that's a rough draft, though.
I wrote my first book in 23 days. You can do it, but it's not the norm. It really is not the norm. Yet now,
and
it is.
It's not complete. It's not complete.
Well,
it's
and
not,
that's just,
it's not ready for publication. So that's an implied, that is an implied truth. That's not true.
That's a net impression.
I mean, once, we can write it technically, yes. Yeah. And again, like Beth said, once you figure this out, you start hearing it. But I've been hearing it all the time. It's just a practice. It's a practice norm of saying something literally. And if somebody questions, you say, well, you can't write it, but the implied message is what they really wanted you to hear. But if they had to defend it, they put it in the literal and say, but you did write the book, right? know, and we have to be careful of that. I call it nuances as Christians. Mm-hmm. We have to listen to that voice inside that says, check yourself on that one.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's one of the things that, I've always, that just irritates me about when people are write your book in, 7 days or whatever. It's like, they don't tell you that's just the rough draft. That's your first draft. You have a lot more work to do after those 7 days, even if you accomplish that. And People do not know how much work goes into publishing a book. You know, they make it sound so, you know, glamorous, and there's a lot of work that goes into it. And so, yeah, and you know, I won't ever advertise that way. Write your book in X number, you know, because yes, you can do it, but it sends I think it sends a false message, and it's not necessarily a good quality book. You know, it can be, but it isn't necessarily. Like, you're promoting speed over quality. You know, hurry up and write your book. You can get it done. Da, da, you can have it published by da, da, da. And it's like, yeah, but what kind of quality book is it going to be? You know, have you done your research? You know, do you know, if it's a lengthy book, it's probably not going to be a good book. If it's a short book, yeah, you could probably do it. And maybe, you know, some people can make it a quality book in a short amount of time because they're good writers, but it's not the norm. And knowing that the FTC really looks at typicality, you know, that's not something that I want to try to promote. So, but again, everything that I'm telling you is just me summarizing, and like you said, Annette, you can hear something, you hear it, and every time you hear it, it's a little bit different. That's why don't take my word for it. You know, read the book. Don't say that. Go to don'tsaythat.com. I am not an affiliate. I have just become very passionate about this topic. You know, because I'm reading this and I'm like, I have a lot of work to do on my own site and stuff to look at it and make sure that it's compliant and so forth. So, and he does let you have a free trial of his, it's called Complyly or something like that. It's in his book. Complyly, is it complyly.com? Not sure, it might be complyly.com or something like that. Where you, and it's up to a certain number of words. I don't remember how many words you get. And you can, you know, like if I'm going to go out and put my website URL in there and let it examine it. And, you know, I don't know what happens if it's more words than what they allow. If it just cuts off, like it'll examine that amount of it. But, and then that's it for the free trial. And then if you want to buy it, you can buy it. But so you guys could do that if you wanted to. Any other questions or comments? Something to think about. Stay compliant. Like I said, look at it from a customer's perspective when you're doing it. When you're presenting your offer, how's your offer? Remember, I talked about the offer stack last week. Just don't over exaggerate things. Make sure you have, you know, with testimonies now, when I learned about testimonies, I'm like, oh, dang, I got to have written approval. Like I thought the approval was when they gave me their testimony. So, you know, I got to go back and I got to correct that. And, you know, there's just a lot of things I got to do to make sure I'm compliant as best I can. But, keep it in mind and anything that you're doing. And hopefully you never get targeted. So, all right. Well, with that, I bid you farewell. I'll be gone for the next 2 weeks. And Susan, you will be missed.
Oh, thank you. And you have fun, because several of those places I went to last spring with my daughter, it was
yeah.
eye-opening, enjoyable, just, it really filled my bucket in a
Yeah.
lot of ways. So
Yeah.
just
Thank you. Yeah, I can't wait. I've always wanted to go there. My mom and dad were in Germany when my brother was stationed there, and their pictures were just so gorgeous. And my husband and I, we love nature. You know, we just love being out in nature. And so I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be a little chilly, so we got to pack winter clothes. But that's okay. That's okay. So,
okay.
Rod, thank you for taking over. You guys will be in good hands for the next 2 weeks.
You're welcome. Have fun. Safe travels.
All right. Bye, everyone. Thanks.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks, Kathy.
Blessings.